Hi, my name is Rodney. Welcome to Databases Made Easy. What we're going to do in this series of videos is walk through how to create a database in Microsoft SQL Server. We're only going to use things you can download for free off the internet, so you don't have to spend any money. And I'm going to try and keep all the examples and all the code and everything at a really nice basic level so that you can kind of follow along, do it with me, and learn the basics of Microsoft SQL Server. And at the same time, for those who've never built a database before, understand how a database all sits together and and then take it from there. All good? All right, well, let's first of all start off with a basic concept. Generally speaking, a database will fit into one of two categories. It'll either be a flat file or it'll be relational. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, probably the best way to explain it is with an example. So therefore, if I move myself out the way, I will show you what a typical flat file database looks like. And this is something that I've been presented with many times over my 25 years of working with databases in the IT industry. You can see here how someone's opened up Microsoft Excel and they've started just typing in data in a logical sense. So someone's first name, their surname, their email address, a phone number, and their street address. Okay, it's pretty understandable how this could happen. And I guess it kind of makes sense too that this would make you think like you've got a database. The problem is it doesn't scale very well. Now, what do I mean by scale very well? Well, again, we look at an example here. In rows 6 and 7, as we've got here, Fred and Kate Jones, is that one account or two accounts? I guess two records, but I guess it depends what the system is. Is it based on person? Is it based on household, clients, contacts? There's all sorts of different names that this could be. So, it depends how you're going to build your system. For this example, we're going to assume actually that this is one household, and this is more of a database of households, okay, or customers. You can see that this address is the same, and that would therefore make it technically the same record, just spread over two rows, which doesn't make sense in terms of a technical database, in terms of a record and a row. Okay, so the problem with this as well is if you change this address, let's say Fred and Kate move, you've got to make two updates to the table, okay, because there's two rows. What about if we wanted to add in another column for another phone number? Well, that's okay if you've only got 12 or 11 rows as we have here, because you're just going to add that one column on a dozen rows. But if you've got a database in the billions, and I've worked with databases many times that have a billion rows or more in some tables, that space has to be replicated through every single row. And if you're going to add indexes on that field and so forth, the amount of storage that takes up and the amount of speed that it could take to search, it does add up over time, especially if you're doing that on lots of tables. Now, granted that space isn't as expensive as it used to be when I started, but it still should be a consideration. So what's the solution then? Well, the solution is to take this flat file database and turn it into a relational database. And we do that with the what we call ID columns or identity columns. So for the sake of this demonstration, we're going to call this a database of customers. Okay, so we're going to change this to be the customer table, customers. And we're going to give, at the very first row of this, a customer ID field. Okay, so we're going to come here, give that an ID of 1, and then for each subsequent row, the identity field will increment by 1. All right, and there we go. So we've now got 11 customers in this case. Now, we're going to leave, for the sake of this demonstration, these other fields here, and we're just going to move the address field out. So I'm going to come over down to Excel. I'm going to create a new table, if you like, called addresses. And we're going to come here and we're going to move all the address fields out and put them in their own table. I will also add a column and call it address ID. A little bit bigger for you. Okay. And just like in the customer ID, we're just going to make it an integer and put it there, just incrementing by 1. Okay. Now, because this is the same record duplicated, we can probably get rid of 1. So we'll delete that. And just get off the joys of doing this in Excel. Okay, so now we've got our address table and our customers table. Now, I'm going to talk later on about the different types of relationships between tables. We have like one to many, many to many, and so forth. For this particular table structure, just give a really simple example, we're just going to kind of link it in a very simple way. So if you remember before, we had 11 rows. So up until where Fred Jones was, it was the first 5, okay, up to Eucalyptus Drive. There, and addresses back here, 6 through 10 with the last 5. And then here, Kate was the same as Fred, so it's also a 5. Does that make sense? So instead of having the text here for each address, we have a pointer to say that this address, we'll label this address ID. So we want to know the address of Sarah Brown. It's address ID 4. Therefore, we're going to go to our addresses table, get address ID 4, and it's here. So also, like I said before, if Fred and Kate Jones move from Eucalyptus Drive, Brisbane Heights, you change it here, and then that's automatically referenced across both of these tables. So both of these records. Does that make sense? That's kind of an example of how we're going to go in this course. Very simple examples, small videos, cut like that. So hopefully you can follow along with me. The next video, we're actually going to go start moving into the SQL Server. And yeah, if you got any questions as well, guys, please in the comments below, hit them, type them, and I'll get back to you. And also, please, if you do like these videos, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. With that, guys, I'll see you in the next video.